New York, the heat.
This is Ron Klopfanstein, and you're on the hot seat on a Media Monday. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the hot seat. This is a Media Monday, and later in the show, we're going to check in with some of my past guests in Rome to see how they're doing after the tornado. We're going to get an update from Julie Whittemore from the Keaton Lloyd Bookshop. We're also going to hear from Sarah Macri from United Way, who you remember was a guest on the show a few weeks ago talking about the United Way's 211 program. She'll let us know how that 211 program is helping people in Rome clean up and recover after the tornado. But first, we have a great media guest today, Brian Lazore. Now, he was in a few weeks ago when Utica Realties were the guest, and he told us a little bit about his pictures. He's a photographer, and every time I get into a discussion about his work, I struggle to find the words to describe it. His photographs are amazing, like magazine level quality. I have one in front of me now. I'm looking at. I can't stop looking at this. It's like I feel like I was in Vanity Fair. Brian, you are so good. Brian Lazore, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
So what really amazes me about your work, too, is that you've only been doing this for about a year, you said, right?
Yeah, it was about the end of July, beginning of August I started, and then everybody loved my work so much, so I went and got my business license and started Lazore Photography.
You have an amazing, natural talent for this stuff. Now, before you started, doing it seriously with the business and stuff, did you take pictures? You must have been interested in photographs.
Well, I always took pictures throughout my life with disposable cameras, Polaroid cameras.
Yep.
A long time ago.
Right. Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
And even the cheap little digital cameras. And I always been into art and stuff like that. And I took business and computer design and marketing design in college. And I just always had an artsy eye.
So what was the thing that made you decide to really give it a try? Because to be a photographer, I know that you've invested a lot in your equipment too. So it's a big step to start a business.
I've been struggling with PTSD for about 20 years since I came home from Iraq, and I've been suicidal.
Yeah.
Last year it was really bad, so I reached out to Army, and we got talking, and he told me that he started doing photography and he was able to get back to the community. Now he does freelance work for the paper and stuff like that. So I figured I'd give it a try. I mustered up $600-700 when I bought a cheap camera, and I started out not knowing what I was doing or a clue, and I just started off self-teaching and reading and researching, and it just took off from there, and they liked my work, so I said, you know what, you don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow, I might as well just take that leap and get my business license.
Give it a shot, yeah. So when you first went out there, what were some of the first things that you took pictures of just to give it a try?
Well, the first things I was taking pictures of was my dog, and then of course my backyard, my garden, and my backyard. And then I just went out and I was taking pictures of everything and anything I saw. And it doesn't matter what you see, when you're looking for the artistic view of the picture, you're looking at things differently than you normally would.
How so?
Just you notice things more, and you're always looking for that shot. Would this be a good shot? And you're always looking for different angles and composition and stuff like that. And I think naturally just boosts the eye. I drive by at work. I was driving by a truck for 9 years. I never noticed it until I started doing photography. I took a picture of the truck and did some nice fun edits to it, and it sparked a whole big conversation on Facebook, and it actually led to a big photo shoot.
Wow.
So something I ignored for 9 years.
Yeah. By just taking a closer look and looking at it from different perspectives. Interesting. So now, how does your photography does it help you with your PTSD? Does it?
It does to a point. When you have PTSD or you're dealing with depression and suicide, it's always there. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy, but when I get motivated and I stay busy, I'm not thinking about all the negatives.
Right.
Sometimes I enjoy getting out in the community, and giving back to the community as well, and I donate my business to youth program.
Right.
But sometimes I still fall back in my shell, but then I try to break out of it and get back out there.
I think we all do at times, Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think is so interesting about photography. Now, I've seen you. Most recently, you were at the rally for Noway, the Parkway.
Yep.
And so you were taking pictures there. I was too. I was covering it as well. And I think that it's interesting because if you're doing something like that, you're taking pictures of people, of a community in its moment of grief. And I think that maybe, I'm wondering if you feel like, it seems to me in looking at your work that you have a really good insight into how people feel because of your own experiences with depression.
Yeah, and I had this discussion a while ago with somebody. If you look through some of my work, I put my feelings into, because I don't just take pictures of people. I go out and take pictures of landscape, animals, benches, chairs, tables, and everything. And
Yep.
sometimes you can put your emotion into that picture, especially when you do fun edits to it and whatnot.
Right.
I had that conversation with somebody before, and I like doing dark edits to some of my work.
Yep.
And because even though I'm out there with my camera, sometimes I do feel still depressed and stuff like that.
Right.
And being single the past 4.5 years and having my dog, it's just pretty much been me and my dog. I have a daughter, she's older now, 14, and I'm 30.
Yeah.
And she was one of my big supporters. Her name's Allie.
Oh,
When I
nice.
first started photography, and when she saw how good I was and how I was taking off, she actually looked at me and said she was proud of me.
Wow.
That really.
I'm not surprised. 'Cause
Touch a special place in my heart.
I'm happy to hear it because your work is really amazing. I mean, you're like an exciting talent. I have to say that. And to think especially like everyone, you took pictures your whole life, but to think in the past year, how far you've come with this stuff, it is pretty amazing. And I do sort of think that one of the reasons why you're so good at this art form is because you've been through stuff. I think the same way, with my journalism, I couldn't feel the same way too. I've been through a lot of crap in life, and you tell other people's stories in a way that kind of helps you deal with your own stuff. Do you agree?
Yeah. I don't really like being called a photographer, and since I started my business, I do paid photo shoots, couples, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And other people tell me I'm a professional, but I don't even consider myself a professional. I just consider myself a storyteller. Rather, it's a client hiring me to do a photo shoot, I'm telling their story.
Yeah.
But when I'm out in the public, I'm capturing other people's story, or sometimes I'm interpreting their story through my angles, my edits, my lighting. Or if I go out and photograph empty benches or animals or landscape sunsets, it's all about interpretation and expression. I can express how I'm feeling at that time.
So tell me about a picture that you took where you feel like you had an emotion and you found the perfect image to express that, or images, maybe a few. And what are some of the pictures that you've taken that you felt really were good examples of you getting across a particular idea or emotion or a theme?
Yeah, we're getting deep here. I like to visit some places for my youth. I grew up in foster homes. And, originally, I grew up in Cornhill, and then moved to the west side. And then I ended up,
Utica?
Yeah. And then I ended up in the system of group homes and children's homes, stuff like that. I have this big portfolio where I call it benches, chairs, and oh my. I like taking pictures of empty picnic tables, benches, chairs.
Yeah.
And the one that really hit me hard was I went to the train station and I set my camera down on the bench at the train station, and I made the background blurry so you got the nice bokeh artsy look to it, and focused right in on the bench where I used to sit as a child, where I used to take a bus from Watertown Children's Home to Utica, and sometimes my ride wouldn't show up, or I'd be stuck late, or I'd be sitting there waiting for the bus to come back. And that was one of the first places I went and photographed an actual empty seat, and then it's just been an addiction from there. And I think as an artist, we're trying to put our feelings out there or have somebody else have feelings. So when I take pictures of empty chairs and benches, I can edit it to how I'm feeling, or rather if it's good or bad, or make somebody else feel something, because it could be either a sad picture or it could be looked at as an opportunity where people So it's not always negative or sad.
Right.
It's just how you're feeling at the time when you're taking the picture.
It's really amazing to hear you talk about like how much depth a picture can have. I mean, a picture really is a text, just like an article or a story or a book or a movie, and it really does. So there's so much that you can get across in one picture, isn't there?
You can connect to millions across the world if you get your work out there. And, I feel I connected to a lot of people since I started to.
Yeah, you certainly have here at the station. It's amazing, and I see you in the community, and all the people like are getting to know your name and look for your work on social media. It's pretty exciting, I think, to see this happen for you.
Yeah, I think my first experience with the community was taking pictures of Veterans Day last year. I went to 5 events that day.
Good for you.
I did Whitesboro, New York Mills. I went up to Rome.
Yeah.
I went to the Parkway Rec Center. Then I ended up in front of the Utica Auditorium. And for reasons of my PTSD, I always avoided large crowds at times.
Yeah.
And the odd that night was giving veterans free tickets to the game. And I said, you know what? I should take my camera in here, take pictures. And my camera feels like almost like a service dog, or I feel.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I know what that's like. You know, times like when I'm like in a crowd. Sometimes even when I didn't plan to do a story on it, you know, I might just whip out my phone and start to do it. And it is kind of like, in a way, it makes you more a part of what you're doing. But in a way, it also gives you kind of like an insulation, because you're like, once you're covering it as a story, as a photographer, as a writer, you know, you're sort of like removing yourself a little bit and being an observer. I think it lets you see more, feel more, but also it does make it more comfortable, I think, to do.
Definitely.
So
it gives you almost a shield and a purpose at the same time.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's a good way to say it. Yes, it does. Because like once you start to do that, you're sort of like there for work, you know, and it does make you like focus on doing that. What was it like for you? So like you're a veteran who has PTSD,
yes.
You know, and you went to 5 Veterans Day events on Veterans Day of 2023 to cover it. What sorts of things do you look for through your camera lens? What do you look for at a Veterans Day event? Through your lens?
Emotion, facial expressions, emotion.
What sorts of like emotions would you?
Either sadness or happiness, or you can tell when people are remembering stuff from the veterans at the events, or happy emotion of celebrating the flag, the Veterans Day.
Yes, right.
In different angles. One of my favorite photos was at New York Mills. I can't remember his name, but he's like one of the oldest World War II veterans in the area. He was celebrated this past Memorial Day when I photographed him, but he was also there on Veterans Day. And just to see, you know, I think he's over 100 or close to 100. I wish I could remember his name.
Wow, so you have pictures of him?
Yeah, I got pictures of him sitting in the chair, just quiet and alone. I mean, surrounded by people. But
Right.
I felt a connection to him, even though I didn't really know him, just because. I can imagine what he's probably experienced as a veteran was even worse than what I experienced. They had it tougher back then.
He was probably World War II then.
And they just celebrated him in Memorial Day in New York Mills. And woman, Marian Buckshot was there. Sheriff Rob Nashel and Mr. Tellerico, the mayor of New York Mills. They recognized him for his service.
That's really nice.
It was a nice moment to be part of the capture.
Yeah. Now, do you participate in Veterans Day stuff often yourself before you're a photographer? How do you feel about that?
Not
as
really.
Someone who's had experiences.
I pretty much lived an isolated life the past 20 years, aside from work and just home and work. And
you know, it's amazing though. I mean, there really is something about going out there as an artist, as a journalist, because taking photographs is journalism, you know, similar to writing or videos or whatever. And I feel like it definitely makes me get out there more because, you know, things where you would think like, well, I don't know anybody there. It doesn't really matter. Once you start to like take your pictures or write your story, get your interviews, it really does kind of make it like, you have a purpose, like you were saying. we have a call. We take this call quickly. She's
Okay,
a little bit
yep.
early. Hey, Julie, is this you? Hold on a minute. We'll come back to you. Okay. So after the break, we're going to check in with Julie Whittemore from the Keaton Lloyd Bookstore. She'll be telling us about the cleanup after the tornado and stuff, and we'll talk more to you after the break too. So my guest today is Brian Lazore. We're going to talk about his work as a photographer in the community, and he's only been at this for a little bit over a year, but he's already getting out there and winning awards and in art shows and building a name for himself. And also we'll also hear from Keaton Lloyd Bookstore, Julie Whittemore, who let us know how things are going with the cleanup, and Sarah Macri, who was a guest on the show a few weeks ago from the United Way, will be here to talk about how the 211 program that she was speaking about on the show, how they're helping people in the Rome area to get the services that they need as they recover from the tornado too. So you're with the Hot Seat on a Media Monday. We'll have more after the break, so stay tuned. This is Ron Klopfanstein, and you're on the Hot Seat on a Media Monday. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hot Seat on a Media Monday. My guest today is photographer Brian Lazore. We're talking about his artwork. He's making a big name for himself in the local community as a photographer. But first I want to check in with Julie Whittemore, the owner of the Keaton Lloyd Bookstore in Rome. If you remember, a few weeks ago I wrote a story about the bookstore. They had an Asian potluck, and went there and I got some pictures, and I met two of the customers there, Rob and Destiria Beaudry, and they had that wonderful story about how they met on Twitch and found love on Discord, and they were both a guest on this Hot Seat show. And anyways, the Keaton Lloyd Bookstore is a place that it's a real treasure for this area, and unfortunately it was hit pretty badly the day of the tornado. So let's check in and see how they're doing and what we can do as a community to help them get back on their feet and get them reopened. So Julie, are you there?
I am. I can barely hear you, but I think I can hear you.
Okay, well I'm gonna try to talk louder. We're gonna move up some of the dials and stuff here on the control board. But Julie, so tell me, what damage did you guys sustain from the tornado?
Our building did have quite a bit of damage. We had pretty severe damage to our roof. Both of the windows in our building were blown in. I think we had two window panes in the front of the door that weren't impacted, but we're going to be doing a lot of replacement of doors and windows. Again, the roof, our HVAC unit on top of the building was torn off and actually landed on another building. And so all of that needs to be fixed pretty soon. It's going to take a while. We just started working with a remediation crew today to help determine our next steps. We determined we are going to need to replace all of our flooring, so the next process is going to be removing all of the bookcases, all the furniture, all the books, and so that's the flooring piece.
So it's a pretty big job there. So what actually happened? I saw that Al, who works around on Facebook, that kind of like all of a sudden the window just kind of shattered. I mean, is that like what happens in a tornado? If you were in the store, were you in the store when it happened?
Yeah, we were both in the store toward the front. Eliza, we have spaces in the front windows where we have tables and we like to work in there. Eliza was actually working on a painting in there, which was when she got the text alert that there was a tornado warning. She started moving away from the window, but seconds later it hit. So we were near our front counter and just started running for the back of the shop.
So it was that quick.
So it was pretty scary.
I'll
Fortunately,
bet,
it
yeah.
didn't last long,
Yeah.
but it's not a thing you want to experience.
No, certainly not. And your cat, the cat is okay though.
Yeah, Carl's doing great. A lot of people are asking about Carl, and
He was very smart.
He's a smart cookie.
he did the warning and went and hid as soon as he heard it.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Yeah,
So
he's smart. are any, he ran away, but he ran into the ceiling, which wasn't the
Oh,
greatest
wasn't the
option.
best idea. Yeah. But you know, I'm sure he had no experience with tornadoes like the rest of us. So it had to be a new experience for him too. So everybody wants to help you guys get back up and open again. What can people do to help?
Right now, we set up a GoFundMe. You can access that through KeatonLloyd.com or through the Keaton Lloyd Facebook page. There's a direct link. People have been very generous to raise funds for all the stuff that we can't cover by other means.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll also be looking for some extra hands moving stuff so that we can start the process of getting the old floor up. So we're going to be doing that probably from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. tomorrow.
Oh, great. So like, if people want to help, they could just like show up and lend a hand.
Yeah, if you just want to help us kind of lug stuff around just somewhere safe so they can remove the old tiles.
Nice.
We certainly could use all the help we can get.
And I will put like a link to the GoFundMe in the show notes, as along with a link to your Facebook page and your website and stuff too. And unfortunately, I know that like Copper Easel was affected too, and Cinema Capital, my favorite place to go to the movies, they're also out of commission for a while too. Correct?
Yes. So that strip of buildings actually still does not have power. We're hoping it's going to be restored in the morning. It's been a very laborious effort to get the power back on West Dominic Street.
Yeah.
So we don't even know the status of certain things. We don't know exactly what damage has been done to the projection equipment. So we're tackling the building itself, but it's going to take some time to get the cinema back and running.
Well, you have a lot of support from the community. There are a lot of people that want to help, and a lot of people that that the arts district means a lot to them, and me included. It's my favorite place to go in Rome is your store and Copper Easel and Super Official and Cinema Capital, and it's like I can't wait till everything gets up and running again. And so just please keep me up to date, and I'll do what I can to like let the listeners and the readers know what they can do to help you help out and help you guys get back up on your feet. So
thank you so much. We appreciate all the help.
Great.
And everybody's giving out.
Thanks for calling in, and I'll put the link on the show notes. Julie Whittemore, Keaton Lloyd Bookstore. Brian, while I'm talking, was taking pictures of me. I can't wait to see these pictures he's taken, and I'm going to put these pictures on the show notes too. So, Brian, you have some projects coming up soon. I know one of them is Utica Royalties Talent Show, because I'm going to be there too. I'm excited about that. Can you tell us more?
Yes. First, I want to give a couple shout outs.
Of course, yes.
What I've been doing would not be possible without people being supportive and giving me a platform. I want to give a shout out to Amos Donnell Productions and Pins in New Hartford.
I love
Michael
Pins.
Lawton.
Yeah.
I did photos there for about 6 months. They gave me a platform.
Nice.
And then I signed up to do a open mic night. I'm not a.
Oh yeah, where?
It was with J-Watch Productions at
J-Watch,
Gallery
I've heard of
back
them, yeah.
in January.
Yeah.
I called him up and said, "Hey Jay, I don't know if you remember me from Utica Royalties fundraiser in January." I said, "I'd like to sign up for open mic night." He's like, "Oh, you're that photographer." It's like, if you want, while you're here, take pictures and you can promote your business.
Cool.
So I've been working with him, and he's been giving me a platform. I do pictures, people buy them.
And I see J-Watch out there a lot, like on Facebook, doing a lot of events.
Yeah,
and,
he does a lot of good things in the community. He doesn't like to brag himself, but he does a lot of charity work himself.
Yeah,
he works with
I've
Cornerstone
seen that.
Community
Nice.
Church. He does work with them. Those are the two, big people who really gave me a platform, and I really appreciate it. And then I met Utica Royalties through Amos Donnell. He was performing, and then I just fell in love with what Utica Royalties was doing.
What a nice organization. What nice people.
Yeah. I with everything that was going on in the beginning of January, I was doing programs that can grow and help kids. I mean, there could never be too many programs in Utica because kids have different interests.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things they want to do nowadays, and you gotta have as much as.
And they have their talent show coming up in August.
So tell me about the talent show. I already know about it, but tell the listeners about it. I'll jump in a little bit too.
I don't know too much of the details. because I'm not
So
the one
you can
working on
win.
it, but there is.
I know you can win $250.
Yeah, you can win $250.
And you get to be on the show too. You can be on the hot seat. That's part of the prize.
auditions open up to adults now.
Yeah, yeah.
Or it's open up to adults.
Yep,
As
yep.
of right now, it's August 2nd at 5:30 at the
Yeah.
Veterans Outreach Center. in
It's
the
a
lobby.
Friday night, and then I think that then the next week is the actual talent show.
Yeah, yep. And then Utica Realty is giving people a platform. Hopefully,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
It's going to bring positive, vibes to the community and
Totally.
raise more awareness about Utica royalties.
Yeah, it's so positive, you know.
And then I submitted about 6 pieces to be reviewed for the Upstate Art Collective.
Oh, so what's that?
I'm not 100% sure what
I
they
never
are.
heard of that
I just
either, so-
randomly found them.
I like
online.
the sound of it.
I haven't found too much information about them, but the Upstate Art Collective is having art showing at the Other Side Gallery in South Utica.
Oh, okay, at the other side.
Yep, and
Yep.
I asked them if I could talk about this on the air today. I didn't hear a reply. I'm sure they don't mind.
I'm sure the more publicity, the
But,
better.
August 8th at 5:30 p.m. is open reception. They did accept
Oh,
one
cool.
of my pieces.
Nice.
It is a Juneteenth piece that they chose.
So what's it a picture of the
I don't want to spoil it.
Okay, so it's a surprise.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it.
Right.
But that piece is going to be for sale, and 100% of the sales, minus
Wow.
their commission, will be donated to Utica Royalty Youth Program.
Oh, that is really great. That's so
And
generous.
it's just my way to give back and help
Yeah.
out as well in the community. And
Right.
I'm very appreciative that I've been allowed all these opportunities. I've been in Rome Community Arts Center, about 3-4 times already. I was
Oh, I
at
like that
Remsen
place.
Art Festival.
You were in the sidewalk art show too. That was
Yep,
at the
yep.
this past week. I was there Sunday.
Yep, I
So
had a
you
piece
picture
there.
of the squirrel.
Yeah, the squirrel. It was a fun picture, and it was lightly edited just to make the coloring, and the squirrel popped out more.
Yeah.
And,
What's it feel like to be able to go to these things, these art shows, and see your work, on a wall, on the gallery wall?
I'm speechless. I never thought that I would be this far, especially with the homeownership art contest that I won in Cornhill.
Oh,
It's
right,
just-
yes, right. You've been winning contests too.
Yeah,
so it's like it's happening.
Three
for you.
winners, and they got we all got a big decent amount check for our work, and we have a
Nice.
permanent home at the Empowerment Center in James Street.
Oh, I like that.
But
yeah.
I'm left speechless. I never thought I would take off as far as I have in such a short amount of time.
When did you first start to realize that, like, based on like how people reacted, that like you were onto something here?
Well, I know
Because I took one look at your pictures and I was like, this guy is like a cut above. This guy's top notch here.
Well, I started out taking pictures of animals, my dog, landscape, sunsets, and then I have a business degree, so thinking outside the box. In order to get my name out there, you got to interact with people. But people, being a new photographer, aren't just going to hire you on the spot for a photo shoot. So you got to get out there and prove yourself.
You do,
And,
yes.
and I thought, why not go out in the community, do community events, give away some of the pictures. Some things I go to, I do sell the pictures as well.
Right.
Digital downloads. I went to
People should definitely buy your pictures. I gotta say, I gotta get a plug for this guy. And I'm gonna put in the show notes how to get in touch with him, and I'm gonna put it on my social media because, I mean, really, these pictures are truly amazing. They're truly amazing. And what I like about them too is like everything I've seen that you took, every picture, it does truly tell a story.
That's what it's about.
And lots of times your pictures that tell stories, the stories are complex, which is even more amazing, to see like just the facial expressions, the way that people, the composition, all that kind of stuff, color. So how would you describe to somebody, like, what does a good picture do? So you're taking a picture, you're out there with your camera, you're deciding, I gotta turn one in, I'm gonna submit one for this contest or to be in this art show or to do this thing.
It's a hard process choosing which one to submit because
I can imagine.
I have thousands of pictures that I haven't even put out there. I'm so backlogged on pictures right now and projects and things I'm working on behind the scenes.
What do you look for? When I do pick pictures like from my stories, because I approach it probably more primitive than you would, because I'm not a photographer. But I look for the obvious things. Like, which of the pictures I took. And I was like, if I'm interviewing someone, maybe take 3 or 4. Turns out most of them, a lot of them, one person's eyes are closed, or they weren't looking at the camera the right way, or like this one's blurry, but that one's not. But for you, like, you have, I imagine so many of yours are so good. We got to pick the one.
Yeah,
Like, which squirrel picture was the one?
that was the one.
that
was
was
just
the
the one shot one. When I take pictures of people, for an example, I'm a no flash photographer. I try to use the natural light. And so
That always looks better, I think.
I was taking a picture at Pins with Amos, and it's just so dark in there.
Right.
In the beginning, it was really frustrating, but I learned the trick is you have to take a lot of pictures. It took this couple asked me to take a picture, and they're like, "Why are you taking so many pictures?" I'm like, "One, because I'm shooting. I shoot manual mode on my camera, so I control all the settings.
Oh, okay.
So with that low lighting, you have to shoot at a lower shutter speed, so it takes a longer picture.
So it lets more light.
It lets
in.
more light in, but
Okay.
also it catches the slightest movement. So
I
took
see.
probably 10, 15 pictures of them.
Yeah.
And when I got home in post-processing, out of those 15, there's only one good picture because they did not sit still. People don't stay still.
People don't stay
No,
still.
and men are the worst too. Like I've done paid photo
Right.
shoots,
Right.
and the men are usually looking in a different direction.
Yeah. I've noticed that.
And then the great picture is when you catch the wife or the girlfriend or somebody giving them the dirty look. Stay still.
Whenever I get a picture taken, my eyes are always closed. That's the thing that I notice. My eyes are always closed. So we have our next caller on the line here. So we're going to go to break now, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about Brian Lazore's work and more about these the shows and the events that are coming up. We're also going to hear from Sarah Macri, who was a guest a few weeks ago on the show. She's from the United Way of the Mohawk Valley, and she's going to talk about how the 2-on-1 program that her and Jack Flance were on the show to discuss, how their program is helping people in Rome as they kind of recover and clean up from the tornado. So we're going to have some more after the break, so stay tuned to the Hot Seat this Media Monday. This is Ron Klopfanstein, and you're in the Hot Seat on a Media Monday. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm Ron Klopfanstein, and this is the Hot Seat on a Media Monday. My guest today is Brian Lazore, the photographer. We're talking about the art of photography, his art, his background, all the great things he's doing with photography. But now we're going to speak to Sarah Macri. She is from the United Way, and a few weeks ago she was on the show with Jack Flance, marketing director, and they were talking about the 2-on-1 program that they have, and also kind of about all the things that the United Way does for the community. So I was wondering, with the tornadoes in Rome, I figured they must be very, very involved in those cleanup efforts and helping people get information, get referrals, and just like imagine the work is endless. So let's hear from Sarah and find out like how things are going with the United Way. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, we're glad that you're here because I imagine like you guys in the United Way are sort of in some ways on the front lines with helping people, helping the city recover. Is that right?
Yes, actually the day that it happened, I actually live in Rome. I'm a resident myself, so I was going through the whole experience as a resident and kind of on the front lines of it as well. But when it actually happened, I happened to be out in Syracuse at a conference, and I had to immediately leave, drive home, figure out my personal situation, and then like jump into action for my job. You know what I mean?
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
And it was just quite devastating what happened. I mean, there was so many people that lost their housing, so many people that just lost so much in the neighborhood, and even if they didn't lose their housing, they had damage. They went without power for a period of time, which ended up in loss of food. And
that's true too.
People that had medical equipment on power. It was quite the experience. But I have to say, United Way has stepped up, and we've done an enormous amount of things. It's pretty fantastic to see, not only our agency but other agencies and the community come together to help us in such a time of need.
It really has been nice to see how all the organizations and just all the people, it seems like, at least for the past week, everybody has kind of been on the same page and coming together to help each other, to share too, which is really nice.
Exactly.
So now,
the day it happened, I walked out of my house and it was like, this was after it was over, I just seen all the whole neighborhood just coming together like chest on one another, and that is huge.
Wow, that's really beautiful. That's really nice. So how were you impacted? Was your house okay where you live?
Oh, my house is okay. It was really just my fence, and we were without power from Tuesday to Friday.
So now
So-
when Tuesday to Friday, so it was quite a while then.
Yeah, it was quite a few days.
Wow. So now what happens when something like this occurs, when there's a tornado and this big thing, and what does the United Way do? You bring right into action, I imagine.
Yes, we stepped up in many ways. 211 really ensures that all the resources are updated. So if you were in need of, updating on like power outages or just reporting that there's damages or trees or power lines down or road blockages, looking for volunteer opportunities was a lot of our calls that people were calling in.
Oh, so
about.
people can call 211, like even if they don't need help themselves, but they want to help, they can call.
Yes. I mean,
Nice.
we really, when a disaster like this occurs, we try to stay up to date on everything that's going on currently. So if someone calls in, we know if the county offices are down. We know that they're serving food over in a church parking lot. So we know them. We know all the up-to-date things to give all of our residents so they are insured to go to one place that they're looking for and whatever it is that they need.
Wow, that's great because there at a time like that, after a crisis and emergency, there can be lots of miscommunication, and it can be hard to get
And
information
not
on
only
one
that, it's
source.
confusion, especially
Right.
for a lot of people that we've never gone through this kind of situation. So,
Right.
we've all gotten to a point where it was like, okay, now we've been displaced from our home. What do we do?
I
Where
know.
do we go? Whether you were low income or had income, every single person was affected.
Right, and it's also like so disorienting too, I imagine. I live in Westmoreland. We actually weren't. Some of Westmoreland lost power, but where I lived, we were fine. But it's like I can imagine like to have something happen like that so quickly too. And I think that like with tornado warnings, I know before last week I never took them seriously, but I will now.
That's exactly it. And I don't think anyone expected. No one expected it to happen, and it happened so abruptly.
I know.
And not only does 211 cover all these updated services and resources, we also have the mental health support line.
Oh,
So
nice.
anybody struggling can call that any time of day or night, and we are available to talk to you and give you some guidance.
Oh, that's really good to know. And another thing you were telling me too, another really practical thing is you help people with rides.
Yes, we have a program that is called the Ride United Transportation. It works with Lyft, and it provides residents like a $26 credit. So if your ride is below $26, it covers the ride. And really, if you stay inside city limits, it pretty much covers the ride for you.
Yeah.
So we've been running that program, and we really stepped that up during this time of need, considering people have lost their vehicles. People
true.
are now struggling to get to appointments or get to the food banks or all these different services that are being provided. They need to have access to that. So we're providing that credit for residents that is also posted on our website to get that request at unitedwaymc.org.
Great. So now, if people would like help, or if people want to offer help, how could they get in touch with you and with the 211 program?
Really, just call 211. And
It's
to
very
see
easy.
what is out there. It really just call or text the 898-211, and they'll kind of direct you in that way. And we also, United Way has also created an unmet needs fund. We partnered with the YMCA of Greater Tri-Valley. I'm not sure if we have expanded that or not. But in order to donate, we are asking cash and gift cards, and that can be accessed at unitedwaymc.org/tornado. And the application, I believe, is coming out soon as well, if it hasn't already, to be able to apply for some funds.
Oh, great. And I will get all this stuff up on the show notes for this like I did before. And thank you for coming on the show today to call in. And thank you for the work you're doing to, help so many people through the crisis. It's not only, helping the people who get the direct aid, but also I think it's just nice to see, like, the United Way take the lead and, kind of bring people together. And it's such a, it's such a community building thing. Bad things like
It really
this
is,
can be,
and that's what I mean. Like it's such a tragic event, but in the same sense, it was so beautiful to see everyone
is.
come together and just help one another, and that is really the goal of what we want here. Everybody
Right.
wants everybody wants peace, we want to be united, and when we
Absolutely.
become united, it just makes such more of an impact.
It certainly does, and I like that. So the United Way is really uniting us, which is what we
Yeah.
need. So, well, thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate your time. I'm going to let you get back to your work, and just please keep me posted, and I'll do what I can to let the listeners and my readers know.
We appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Great, bye, Sarah. Thanks.
Bye.
So, Brian,
Yes,
so
sir.
you have so many things coming up. You got shows, you got events. What is the thing what is something that you would like to take a picture of that you have not gotten a chance to take a picture of yet? Who's that person or that thing or what kind of thing? I have so many people that I want to interview, but some of the people that I always have people from TV shows I want to interview, and there's some that I've got and some that I've not, but there's some of those white whales out there that those goals, I gotta get an interview with her someday, with him someday, and so far it hasn't happened. I'm working on it still. So for you, what would you like to take a picture of?
I mean, it's just the list is too much to really put out there. But the main thing that's been avoiding me is an eagle. I've been
Really?
I've seen 3 eagles since I started photography. They're just flying way too high in the sky. They're
Yeah.
at midday when the lighting, is just too bright to take
Oh,
pictures
it's
up
up
there.
in
You
the
can't
sky.
get a good picture. I went to some spots where there's eagles, and every time I go, I don't see them there.
Yeah.
And some of the photography groups like, well, I just saw an eagle at such and such
You
spot.
just
and
missed
I
that.
was there. So I got an eagle and a loon that's been that I've been missing. But as far as people go,
It seems like there's more loons around, I think, than eagles, right? Or if you get up to the Adirondacks, or
I haven't made it that far yet. Hopefully
Yeah.
this week. I made it as far as Old Forge and
lots of beautiful
I
stuff
made it as
up
far
there,
as Sherrill down south. And
Yeah.
I'm not working right now, so funds are kind of low for the travel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, all my money
But you're
tied up
lucky
in my
because
business.
actually there's so much to take pictures of in Utica. I mean,
Oh,
we're so
yeah,
lucky
there
with the
is.
diversity, and there's art stuff going on, and
I just wish I
groups.
could be everywhere all at once.
That's how I feel too. As a journalist, there's so many stories out there. It's everywhere you go, every time people get together, and every person down the street has an interesting story. It's like,
And that kind of gave me for another project I'm working on.
oh yeah,
too.
tell me about their project.
Well, I have a couple-
We're supposed to talk. We never had a chance. We're all so busy.
Well, the one I wanted to talk to you about, I'm working on a book, and it has to do with photography and PTSD.
Nice.
I can write, but I figured why not see if I can get somebody else who's, done it all their life.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
who's good at interviewing and talking.
Yeah.
And maybe me and you could partner up on a book, talk about mental health, art, incorporate my photography.
Yeah, great.
And donate
Great.
part of the proceeds to the
You should
Dominic
come.
Center.
You should come to one of my workshops. So I'm
Yeah,
having
I-
workshops. Yeah.
I was gonna go to the one last Wednesday, but
It's okay.
I was storm chasing.
I got another one coming up this Wednesday in Whitesboro, in Utica. Whitesboro, Dunham Public Library in Whitesboro. I have one coming up August 7th at the Utica Public Library. It's a Wednesday, 6 o'clock. And I have another one coming up on the 17th of August in Rome. So lots of opportunities. So.
then,
Well, it's the thing that I find too is I think everyone who has an artistic bent to them can do a lot of different kinds of art. So I bet that even if you've never written before or done it portrait seriously, I bet I can teach you how to do it too.
But I mean, I've written, but I'm not good. That's the problem.
I bet you're better than you think. That's what I'm saying.
I've been working on a book since I came home from Iraq, and
What's the book about?
it's a little fiction, non-fiction combined. It's about a soldier who was overseas, and then he comes home.
Yeah.
And it's a little action-based, and the story does take place in Utica, but I haven't made it past the 4th chapter. I keep re-scrapping it and rewriting it because
That's how you do it.
it's really hard writing.
It is really hard. Yes.
Especially when you're going to be submitting it to get published. I mean,
Yep.
it has to be spot on.
It does. Yes.
Wording, all your grammar, comma, punctuation,
Yeah.
everything.
I'm doing a book
Pronunciation.
now, so I know it's really. I'm trying to write my first chapter. It's different than doing for a newspaper and stuff. It is. You're right. It is really hard. But one of the good things about writing, though, is you don't need any equipment, which is so nice. You don't need to buy cameras and stuff. You can just do it with Google. Just Google Doc and stuff. But I think it's something where I think you would surprise yourself if you started to. But tell me more about the book. So, does the book help you deal with your own situation?
Writing does, yes.
Yeah.
I wrote poetry, I write poems, I write songs, and
Oh, so you are a writer then?
Well, I mean,
I
what
think
defines a
you're-
writer?
I think you're, well, someone who writes, I'm sure that.
But yeah, I mean, I've always been artsy. You know, I used to be, you know, I used to draw in my youth. I used to paint, and then I gave that up. And then when I got out of the army, I started writing to kind of help cope a little bit.
Absolutely, right.
Some of my
Yeah.
writing was a little dark, and then
Yep.
I submitted a piece to the Old Forge Library for an art show, and it was a picture with a poem I wrote on it. Now the poem was actually a suicide letter I wrote.
Really?
And then when I got on my path of healing through photography
Yep.
last year, I reworded it a little bit and made it. When people read it, still they reach out and they're asking for okay, but if you read between the lines,
Right.
you'll see how I reworded it and rewrote it. That it's an actual positive thing. I'll have to show you the poem.
You will, and let me ask you, like, when you're, you know, when you're at the moment, like, when you're in a suicidal state and you're very depressed and stuff, what did you do? What do you do to talk yourself out of it, to come out of it,
I don't know.
survive
It just kind of happens, or I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna wake up, get in the shower, leave the house with the camera.
Yeah.
There's times I'm out every day for a week with my camera. There's times I do paid photo shoots and stuff like that. There's times I get involved with the community. Then I go back in my shell for a little while and I break out of it.
So, like,
It's a struggle. I mean, it's
right.
almost like an addiction in a sense. Depression can be.
Well, it's an illness.
Because
It's
I
something
would-
you have to deal with on a daily basis. You know.
You know, my youth and my childhood was a hard upbringing, but then you throw on top the military, the combat,
Right.
and all the fighting and the death that you experience when you're overseas. That stuff never goes away. It always haunts you.
Doesn't. Right. But you know, I have to say, you are coping with it very well because you're here, you're making an impact, you're creating art, you're helping people, you're helping yourself, and the way that you're dealing with it is a good way to deal with it. So I feel like your story should be an inspiration to others too. You know.
It's funny you mentioned that. The open mic night, this older gentleman, I don't remember his name, he approached me and told me I should eat. Because I tell jokes at open mic night, but I also talk about my work. I Jay Watch, shout out for allowing me to do what I do. Then I tell people a little bit about my background, but he approached me and told me I should try to get involved in something where I can be a public speaker.
Yeah.
About my path of healing through art and through my photography. But I don't even know where to begin with that. I got a million projects in the works right now.
Well, I sort of feel like you have begun because you are going out there, you're talking to people, you are doing open mic nights, you are getting your work out there, you're doing the show. So I think you're just doing it. I think I think too, like, that's another good message that I think that you're kind of, I think you're a good example because one thing that I've known too from like doing the writing that I do and stuff is you do a lot of it for free. You just do it to get yourself out there, and it does kind of like, that's the way to, you can't wait for someone to like give you a job and say, I want your pictures or I want this. You know, it's like, it's not going to happen. You got to want yourself. And
Yeah, you gotta get your name out there somehow.
Yep.
I used to do everything for free, but now I do it when I choose to do it.
Good for you.
If there's a community event, I'll go out there. I'll do it for free because I want to get back. And I'll give them the free digital pictures, but then there's the option to purchase prints and stuff off of my website.
Yep.
Or some events I'll charge because I mean, my equipment is expensive. Gas
Oh
is
yeah,
high.
right.
So I kind of pick and choose what I do.
And
for
the work
free.
is such good quality too. I mean, that's the main reason too. You know.
And I started doing, I've done senior photos for free, and couples and stuff like that. But there comes a time where you kind of got to pull the Band-Aid off and decide.
Oh yeah, I mean,
decide
like,
what are you going to do for free that's going to be a good impact versus. If somebody called me up right now to do a free photo shoot, first thing I would ask what's it for? Is it for you and your boyfriend? No. That's going to be a paid. That's business.
Exactly.
If it's a community event that has a good impact in the community, I might do it for free. So,
and it's good, the stuff that you do for the community stuff too, it's a good way, it's good advertising too, because people can see what it is you actually do, which I think is important, because there's a lot of people who are photographers, a lot of people who do good photography, but like I said, your work is really a cut above, and I think that it's hard to really understand it, even for me describing it. You really don't know you really got to see these photos themselves, so I'm going to put all this stuff on some you send me a few links you want me to put on the show notes, and
You can just
tell me how to get in touch with you and
Lazore
stuff. So.
Photography, Lazore Photography on Facebook, and all my information under my Instagram, my website.
Well, why don't you tell us that one time on the air too, and then I'll listen to the show notes. But like, what are the ways to find you online?
Lazore Photography on Facebook, Lazore Photography on Instagram, and then I have lazorephotography.smugmug.com. A lot of my public photography is on there, and I'm slowly reorganizing and revamping with my own personal photography stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a website I use for my clients to get their paid photo shoots as well.
Right, yeah. So I'm gonna have links to all that stuff in the show notes. I'll put that on my social media too. And Brian, we'll be at the talent show, and we'll see you at the talent show.
Go to Utica Royalties
You
on
gotta
Facebook for the talent show
Yes.
sign-up sheet. There is a link on there, and also on mine. I shared it,
Yep,
and you
yep.
shared it too.
I shared it too.
But
Yeah.
there's a link
Yeah.
where they can sign up for the talent show
Yep.
and the $250.
And you know, we're both lucky because Utica is a place, the whole Mohawk Valley really is a place where there's so much art and people like us that are out there doing stuff, you know, and it's like we live in a really great area for
We do.
photographers
We do.
and writers. And,
I didn't realize there's this many photographers and even artists out there
Yep.
until I got into it myself, and I was like, wow. And then as a business aspect, I'm like, how can I try and stand out from the regular
Right.
photographer?
that's what you got to do is be how are you the one that like gets picked out the other way? It's true, you know, it's like, but it's like, yeah, it's great. Like we have plays and we have art galleries and the other side
So many
and
forms of
museum
art,
and
too.
yeah, it's amazing. I thought I knew, but when I started to do the show, then I realized, wow, there's all this great stuff out here. So, Brian, anything else you want to get in before we go?
Just stay tuned for big things. I'm working on doing photography tutorials on my Facebook.
Oh, cool.
Kind of way to just give me something to do and make a bigger following. I'm also trying to put together
That's a good idea to do like content like that on your
Yeah.
social media. It keeps the people who follow you keeps them involved.
and I like to teach stuff I've learned. I'm by far no professional, but I like
Well,
to
I would say you are,
share
but-
my knowledge that I've learned.
Yeah.
And then I'm also working on a podcast, video cast type thing now.
Oh, nice.
Nothing
nice.
set final on that, but that's going to be based around interviewing different artists.
You have to be as a guest.
And perhaps small businesses in the
I like
community
that.
are involved in the community as well.
It's a really good idea.
Many good things in the works. It's just a matter of having all the dominoes.
Lots of good
falling
stuff.
into
Well,
place.
I'm sure you can do this. You'll knock those dominoes down one by one, just like I will too. So thank you, listeners. This has been the Hot Seat out of Media Monday. I'll be back with more next week, and I'll have all the stuff in the show notes up at uticaphoenix.net. I'll try to get stuff for you by Wednesday. Also, don't forget Wednesday at 6 o'clock, I will be at the Dunham Public Library on Main Street in Whittemore for another one of my journalism and writing workshops for streaming and digital media. So they're free. 6 o'clock. Just come and bring your phone, or if you got a laptop, bring that. Bring your phone. Bring a pad and paper. We'll figure something out. Wednesday, 6 o'clock, to the Public Library, Whitesboro. I have more information about this stuff too on our website, uticaphoenix.net/workshops 2024. Thanks for joining me this week. I'll be back next week with more stuff in the Hot Seat Media Monday. Now I'm going to kick it over to Jay Easy for the Easy Ride.